Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, we are broadcasting from inside Renaissance Bank on Main Street in beautiful Alpharetta. And if you're tired of the big bank experience, and if you're a big bank, you know what I mean, then what I would suggest is giving Renaissance Bank a look. If you've a small business you're looking for a bank that's big enough to handle pretty much any need you can throw at them, but small enough to do it in a personal way, I have found that Renaissance really is able to mix both of those in an effective way. That's my experience, and I think you might find the same. So go to renaissancebank.com, find their local office, and give them a call, and I think you'll be glad you did. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. Now I want to welcome Greg Sloan. Greg is the co-founder of Go Beyond. Greg, welcome.
John, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Let's talk about you and Go Beyond. How are you serving folks out there?
Well, John, we're really launching a new program called The Purpose Journey, and obviously we're all existing in this post-pandemic environment where we're facing so much unfulfillment, so much just lack of alignment between people and their companies. And so we're serving people by really helping individuals understand what it is to be fulfilled in the workplace.
Awesome. So let's talk about your journey, because you have an interesting story on how you got to the point of founding this company.
Yeah, thanks. So I did spend 25 years in financial services, was what I would say on paper at the peak of a financially successful career. I was carrying a business card that said Vice President of Goldman Sachs. I was 37 years old. Growing up a poor kid in Hawaii, I should have been fulfilled. Mm-hmm. But making a lot of money was about the only thing going right in my life. My marriage was on the rocks, didn't have much of a relationship with the kids. My health was really poor. And so I asked myself, why am I here? What is, there's got to be something bigger than what I'm just making a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So I went through this process. I was recommended a series of books and self-reflection exercises, and went through a process to discover my purpose in life. And that was in December 2007. And within December 2006, and within 30 days, I quit my job. That was sort of the beginning of my purpose journey, if you will.
Yeah. Wow. You and I were joking about this before we came on. What is it about the financial services industry that leads people off onto a purpose search?
It might be sort of the story of how we got into it. I was poor and growing up with a dad who really couldn't provide for us. And so when I learned about this whole idea of investing and making money, I really saw that as a way to overcome some of the things that my dad struggled with. And so I've talked to a lot of financial folks, obviously, over the years, and everyone has a story. Everyone has what we call a money story. And mine's probably not that much different, but I think there is this moment where you achieve a certain level of financial success and realize it's not really what you were hoping it would accomplish. And so I was one of those in the same boat.
So what's interesting to me about you and your journey, Greg, is you're ahead of the game in a way. I mean, in terms of the purpose search, we've seen a lot of this here over the last year, 2 years, 3 years as a result of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But you've been after this a while.
I have. And I would say, well, first of all, from a psychological perspective, research has shown that there's two periods of life where we as human beings tend to be more purpose-focused as individuals. The first is in our mid-20s, typically coming out of college for those of us that went on beyond high school. And it's really trying to figure out a trajectory in life that you believe is going to lead you to a certain level of fulfillment in your career and family and community and all those things. And then the second period of life, again, this is very researched very heavily, is typically in that midpoint of your career. For men, it happens a lot around the 50-year-old mark. I was a little younger than that. But in terms of the country and the world, for that matter, really on this purpose journey, I don't think it happened in 2020. I don't think it happened in 2009. I think you can really point back to the aftermath of 9/11. And that was the first time in the last 25 years we really were hit with a splash of cold water that life is short. And you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, you're making an impact in the world, and you really are as fulfilled as you possibly can be. So I say this really is about a 20-year-old phenomena. It just, the tables have turned in the last 2 years where the workers now have the upper hand, if you will.
For sure. And talk about how you discovered that your purpose was helping others with theirs.
Yeah, again, it's a process. Mm-hmm. We have a process that we've put together in a piece of software, but the process is not that different from a lot of other folks that talk about being in the purpose space. There's a whole series of communities that are involved, but I would say there are a couple of key elements. The first is you have to understand where you came from. What's your unique story? Because everyone's purpose comes out of their unique story. Mm-hmm. There's that whole nature versus nurture. And so there's the component that is also about what is your unique science, what's the DNA of who you are as an individual, what are your strengths, what are your gifts. Obviously, we learn about these things through high school and typically into post-high school education. So it incorporates all of those things, and ours does as well. But we do use a unique, innovative, a science-based approach to helping individuals to create what we call a personal life purpose statement. And I think we're really unique in that.
Folks, we were chatting with Greg Sloan. He's the co-founder of Go Beyond. So the whole idea of helping workers find purpose in the workplace,
yes,
that really got exposed during the pandemic. I like you're alluding to, this is something that's been going on for a while in terms of dissatisfaction, and it really reached a peak when it comes to remote work and all the other aspects of the pandemic, right?
Absolutely. In fact, BetterUp did a lot of research on this back in 2017, before we even knew what the word coronavirus was. And a couple of stats were that 9 out of 10 people, according to BetterUp, would be willing to take up to a 23% pay cut to find and to be engaged in work that's more meaningful to them. So this is something that was pre-pandemic. 70% of employees value finding meaningful work, yet 2/3 of people say their work currently is not meaningful. So again, these are all statistics that are coming in pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. What the pandemic gave people was the opening, if you will, to say, no, you know what? Now is the time. Now you have a chance to make a pivot in your life into doing something that you believe is more on the trajectory of what is aligned with your purpose in life. Got
it. And that really runs counter to what I think a lot of companies want to believe, that it's all about pay, right?
Yeah. So Gallup actually is another organization. I want to say this is 2016 that they really started put out a coaching model that says you have to move from paycheck to purpose, again, pre-pandemic. So this is not something that's new. But for organizations, I think when you look at the managers of the organizations, senior leaders, 80% of them say that their work is aligned with their purpose in life. But yet many of the employees are not finding that same thing. Again, 2/3 of people say their work is not meaningful for them. So there is this real difference between what the senior leaders say and how purpose-centered they are with the people. One of the other scary statistics that came out in 2019 is that 82% of unfulfilled employees are actively undermining your culture and your brand. So if you don't fix this as a senior leader, as an organization, you are essentially paying your people to undermine exactly what you are trying to sell and bring to the world. So this is something that has to be fixed.
Now, one of the inescapable truths of corporate life is that trends get to buzzwords.
Yeah.
Sometimes quickly, right?
They do.
So this is starting to take on the tenor of a buzzword. And talk about that, and talk about how you address that, and how you get companies to think about this in a deeper way as opposed to checking a box.
Yeah, so absolutely. This is, in fact, Daniel Goleman, the great author who wrote the book Emotional Intelligence, just released a piece last week about this, sponsored by Korn Ferry, that really it was talking about this concept of purpose washing, sort of using this word purpose just to check a box and just to be part of the dialogue. And so a lot of our the foundation of what we're talking about really goes back to the 1940s, and when Abraham Maslow first published his work on the hierarchy of needs. And what he found in his original paper was that individuals, as human beings, have as the peak of their existence something called self-actualization that they all desire towards. Well, most people don't know that Abraham Maslow changed his mind. 20 years later, in the 1960s, he started to realize and wrote some papers that, in fact, there is a higher peak than self-actualization, because the human being desires to go beyond the self, which is where we get our name from, into something what he described as self-transcendence. And self-transcendence is as simple as, once you've self-actualized and achieved a certain level of success, you want to turn around and help someone else do the same. Right. We say it's pay it forward. So we use the word purpose, and it is a very meaningful thing for us. Our definition of purpose, by the way, is as an individual's unique design to improve the status quo for others. We've helped thousands of people write life purpose statements. And one of the unique things is every single statement is not self-centered. It's about a unique profile of individual or group of individuals, in some cases that's causes, that this person believes that they're uniquely designed to solve and to bring to the world. So ultimately what we're talking about is living a fulfilled life. Living a life where you wake up every morning and you're so grateful that you're on this planet, you have breath in your air, and you really are here to help make the world a better place for other people.
Greg, how do you talk to companies about the connection between helping their employees pursue that purpose,
right,
and their quarter-to-quarter objectives, which are a reality, right?
Yeah, so absolutely. So again, it still comes down to metrics, right? Employees who live their purpose at work are actually 6 times more likely to stay and 150% more likely to go above and beyond to make their company successful. So I was talking with a very senior leader in a hospital system a few weeks ago, and he said, Greg, I'm a big believer in this. I really desire all of this, and I want my employees to be more fulfilled. But as a business owner, I'm measured by quarter-to-quarter metrics.
Sure.
How can we work together to provide me the data to take to my bosses to support programs like this? And that's one of the things that we've baked into our program. Again, it's called the Purpose Journey. We have put together a partnership with an organization right here, also in North Atlanta, called Rally Solutions, and they're a learning management platform, a change management platform. And what we have designed is a dashboard to provide the senior leaders the real hard data of how their people are doing. It's really a quarterly checkup of how fulfilled your individuals are. Now, I can't say that it's going to give you some predictive analytics, but I do believe that there is reality in the data that you're going to be able to see how your existing employees are potentially going off track. And if you have a high amount of turnover and you can correlate these two, maybe you can reinvest in some programs that will move the needle in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Folks, we're chatting with Greg Sloan. He is the co-founder of Go Beyond, and the product itself is called the Purpose Journey. Let's talk about how it works.
Sure.
And in conjunction with Rally Solutions. So I'm a business owner, company executive. I'm interested in it. How do I How does it work?
Yeah. So first of all, we offer a free 14-day showcase just to give individuals a taste of how the program works. We follow a model with Rally called Learn, Do, Inspire. Learn is a series of videos. They're micro-learning videos, so 3 to 5 minutes in length, followed by do exercises, which are either within the Rally platform or they're also on our software platform. These are self-reflection. These are actual exercises. Any of the exercises could be anywhere from 60 seconds to 10 minutes in length. Mm-hmm. And then finally, there is a community board, if you will, where individuals can post about what they're learning about themselves. Each individual does get assigned a journey partner. So we believe no one goes on this journey alone. So Susie may get paired with Barbara, and they go through the program together. They're also in a smaller cohort of 25 to 50 individuals that they have the ability to inspire one another along their purpose journey.
Wow. And you've rolled this out when? Talk about the history there.
Yeah. So I sold my company, again, the financial planning firm that I launched in 2007. I was blessed to sell that company in 2020. And we launched the product in person, and then COVID hit.
Got it.
So when we launched the program, it was not a video-based program. It was actually a live learning program. Think of it like a team building exercise where I would go in and I had another partner who would go in and face-to-face work with the leaders as well as the employees. COVID obviously changed that, and then we pivoted to the video learning model. Actually, last year, partnered with Rally. So we are just in the early stages of launching this new digital version. It's 100% digital. Our focus is healthcare companies and technology companies. Those are the two of the industries that are facing significant burnout, particularly in the nurses. There's this whole concept called compassion fatigue, which is, they've been at the front line. And we really want them to realize that their work does matter. And when we can show them going through the purpose journey and how what they're doing to serve our family and friends, it really is why they're placed on this earth. That really improves the fulfillment in their lives. Yeah,
for sure. And I get the healthcare. What about technology? Why is that an important industry for this?
So in this world where engineers in particular are in such demand, and my son is an engineer himself. He actually is one of my co-founders and was working with one of the major consulting firms and decided not to pursue that, partly because he didn't feel like it was aligned with his purpose. And so engineers and high-priced talent in particular have the ability to go anywhere. And what we've heard from the individuals, the workers, the people themselves, is they want to make sure that what they're building, the software, the hardware, the components, that they really are doing something that's going to do something for a greater good. And when we use the word purpose, we're primarily focusing on the individual, but no question that corporate America has had a resurgence of creating what's called a purpose statement for a company. Carol Cohen, who's a consultant here in Atlanta, really did a lot of work with Coca-Cola and some of the other major organizations for companies to write a purpose statement for themselves. If you think about Patagonia and Tom's Shoes and a lot of other large companies that are really doing something that has an impact for the world. If you think about the technology space, there's a lot of individuals that are engineers that say, I want to build something that really is going to change the world for the better. Right. So that's the reason why technology is a second vertical that we're really focused on. Got it.
Okay. And so it's early, I know.
Yeah.
But what's the feedback you've gotten so far?
So, to be blunt about it, it's a little overwhelming for some individuals because they recognize they've had this gnawing sort of thought in the back of their heads that they're not fulfilled, but they couldn't put their finger on it. In fact, 85% of individuals have said they believe they have a purpose, but only 65% can articulate it. I think one of the feedbacks that we've gotten is when they go through the program and they actually end up with a life purpose statement, it's life-changing for them. But going into it, they're still struggling to think that it's actually possible. This has taken us years to actually develop the process, the questionnaires, the cadence of questions, the order of the questions. So as I said, most of our users are individuals that have gone through it, have been through beta testing and just in our pre-video programs where I was teaching this live. It's really easy to see the impact in their lives. We're still early in how it works on a video perspective and a completely digital, but we're really excited about the program that we've put together with Rally. The founder of Rally is a former chief learning officer of Children's Healthcare of Atlanta here, and he's put together an amazing platform for us to partner with. That's
terrific. So what are the size of the companies that utilize the program? What's your target?
Yeah, so probably we can go down as low as 25 employees. I would say our ideal client is probably at least 100 employees up to thousands of employees. This is a program that is best done in a cohort-based learning. The ideal cohort is somewhere between 25 and 50 people. So if you have a really large organization, we would roll it out in stages. But yeah, somewhere in that 100 to 1,000 is really in our sweet spot. And then Rally, our partner, really does well with our larger enterprises, and they bring us in on that as well.
Gotcha. And it's interesting to me that this is really an answer to some culture problems that some companies have, right? I mean, when you're dealing with individuals and their own purpose, that if you're able to align a lot of them, it really changes your culture for the better, right?
Yeah. So one of the other great authors that I have leaned into in my career was Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great. And when I read that book, I don't know how many years ago now, it's a really simple concept, right? If you want to move from a good company to a great company, he says, do two things. Number one, get the right people on the bus. And number two, get them in the right seats on the bus. Currently, we're more focused on the second part, which is alignment of sort of the role that the person plays. If you think about what's happened in the pandemic, and obviously everyone has gone to this work from home, the work that they do in many cases have become pretty redundant. And so I think I've talked to a lot of workers that say, gosh, I'd like more flexibility in even the things that I get to participate in, because for me to just continue to build this particular set of spreadsheets out or run these numbers, it's just not as fulfilling. But if I'm able to spend a little bit of time in the marketing or a little bit of time in product development or a little bit of time in some of the new programs that we as an organization can bring to market, that's more fulfilling to me. So we'd like to help the leaders think outside the box and maybe redesign even some of their own culture and learning programs. So absolutely, this is right at the heart of where we're all facing.
Well, Greg, this has been great, and congratulations on the great work you're doing and the help that you're providing people in terms of living more fulfilled lives. Let's get to the most important question, which is folks that want to know more and would like to be in touch. Tell them how they can do that.
Yeah. So obviously we have a website. It's trygobeyond.com. We're on all the social media platforms. LinkedIn is probably the biggest area that I'm most active in, but we have a Twitter page, and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. But definitely probably LinkedIn, or directly to our website, www.trygobeyond.com.
Greg Sloan, folks, co-founder of Go Beyond. Greg, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming in.
Awesome, John. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, folks, just a quick reminder. Speaking of culture and team building, if you're looking for a different way to do a team building exercise with your folks, how about standing around a stainless steel table and seasoning meat and cutting up vegetables? Well, that's what they do over at A&S Culinary, and it's fun. I've been there, and executive chef Andrew Traub, he's terrific, and he sets up these events there in their culinary studio, A&S Culinary Concepts, and it's a lot of fun. So if you want to know more, call 678-336-9196 or go to asculinaryconcepts.com. You'll be glad you did. And a quick reminder, North Fulton Business Radio is on all the major podcast apps. We're about to come up on a 6-year anniversary of our show. We've done about 450 shows or and counting as of this date. And it's not we do this show to celebrate the great work that our guests do. So it's not about us or Business RadioX. We would love it if you would share the show and if you would subscribe. And if you've heard something you like, send it on to somebody you think would benefit. That's how we help the entrepreneurs that we have on the show. The work they do is valuable and deserves to be celebrated. And we think you've heard an example today with Greg and his team. So for my guest, Greg Sloan, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.